So Robert Jenrick, he is the current frontrunner to become the new Tory leader. He said something incredibly bizarre. He thinks it's a good idea for the Star of David to be displayed at every point of entry in the UK. The Tory leadership frontrunner told a Conservative Friends of Israel event he wanted Britain to be the most welcoming country in the world for Israelis and the Jewish community. He said that while Immigration Minister, he had pushed for Israelis travelling to Britain to be able to use e-gates. He said this would mean that at every airport and point of entry to our great country, there was a Star of David as a symbol that we support Israel. Now, might I say, we don't all support Israel. But moral arguments aside, this is just really weird. I mean, why would we want to show some allegiance to another state? This is the United Kingdom, not Israel. Kevin, the Star of David welcoming people to the country. What do you make of that?
I'm a little bit confused. Does Bobby Jenrick, is he under the impression that he's trying to become the leader of Israel or the leader of the United Kingdom? Because he seems to be under some sort of illusion that he's running for the Knesset or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, very, very odd. And again, like I say, they were falling over themselves to be more pro-Israel than the other candidates. It was frankly, genuinely embarrassing. He was stood at a Conservative Friends of Israel gathering at the Conservative conference in my own hometown of Birmingham. Yay. In a hoodie that said Hamas are terrorists. I mean, hot take. And then said that there needs to be a Star of David at every entry port to the country, which is just weird. Like, would that make Jewish people feel more welcome? Because I think they'd just be a little bit freaked out by that, wouldn't they? I don't know any Jewish people who would want that to be the case. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily care that much, but I think a lot of them would be genuinely freaked out. And of course, when he says we stand with Israel, and this goes for the rather disgusting Conservative Prime Minister that we currently have, when he said the same thing. And by the way, he's gone back to referring to Israel as she again. I don't know why you need gendered pronouns for a nation state, but there we go. Who is the we to which they refer there? Because it's not the British people. The British people, when polled by YouGov, found that only 17% of them viewed Israel positively, whereas nearly 7 in 10 viewed them negatively. Massively polarized since October the 7th. There was a lot of goodwill immediately after October 7th, which Israel then destroyed by destroying the West Bank, by destroying Gaza and parts of the West Bank, and now destroying Lebanon. And presumably going to attack Iran as well now, I imagine. They don't speak for the British people. They have something completely at odds with the British people, their opinion. And this goes back to the Jam Man again, I think. You can tell why they took so much time and effort to get rid of him. Because they couldn't have the hegemony of the Westminster bubble and its opinion about foreign affairs challenged in any way whatsoever. He was a genuine threat to the status quo. So they had to get rid of him. And frankly, if they hadn't been able to get rid of him that way, I think they might have gone to more drastic measures in the end. In all honesty, if he'd become Prime Minister, I don't think he'd have lived out a first term. That's how seriously I think they would have taken it. And now they love it. They love that he will go out there and just parrot the same bullshit. As bombs fall on major settlements full of people, we're supposed to sit here and cry salt tears for Israel getting a tiny sliver of what it gives out daily to the people of Palestine and now Lebanon. No, it's ridiculous. These people don't represent the British people. They don't represent the British people's views. I don't stand with Israel. Fuck Israel.
I find it quite interesting when, well, I mean, you brought up Jeremy Corbyn. Let's talk about him for a second. When he tried to bring the Labour Party back to where it's supposed to be with its centre-left policies. I don't want to hear anyone call it hard left. I challenge you every single time. I don't think ending austerity investment is hard left. He was told by those inside and outside the party in the media, well, you have to appeal to the electorate. You can't be too left-wing, okay? That's very funny. Now, juxtapose that with Robert Jenrick saying, we're incredibly pro-Israel. We stand with Israel. And as you pointed out, 17% of the voters support Israel. Basically, Israel isn't popular. Why isn't anyone saying to him, hold on a second, do you not need to meet where people are at? Because most people don't support what Israel's doing. Funny when it comes to that, isn't it? It's only leveled when you use left-wing economic policy or actually foreign policy that's about justice and peace, suddenly you have to moderate your language, you have to be a bit more centrist or moderate about it. But you can say extreme things like we should put a religious faith, one religious faith, not all of them, but one image of Judaism, the Star of David, on all entry ports to make Israelis and Jewish people feel safe. But okay, then why don't we put display the Quran everywhere and say, look, many Muslim majority countries are being bombed with our help. Let's say to them, we care about you, we're welcoming them, and try and pitch that to anyone in the Tory party. They'd lose their mind.
The Tory party are filled with the kind of latent racism that thinks that just mosques existing in Britain is a sign that the Muslimics have taken over. And yet, for some reason, the idea of absolutely cucking ourselves out to a foreign nation under the guise of religious toleration of Jewish people, which, by the way, they don't obviously give a fuck about at all, is madness that they would ever be okay with that. Like, if Muslims just existing is them taking over, what the hell would this thing be exactly? Like, who are they trying to govern in the interests of? Because it's not the British people, and it's not British Jewish people either. Israel is essentially a Western outpost. It is an American away ground, so to speak, right? It's their thing that they're there to do our bidding in a region full of people who don't want us to do the bidding. And that's all that this is. They don't give a fuck about Jewish people either in Israel or outside of Israel. And indeed, frankly, neither did the Israeli government. We've seen the way they've treated Orthodox Jewish people who have campaigned against the current ongoing wars.
Precisely.
They couldn't give two fucks about Jewish people. They care about Zionism. And those two things are very different and, frankly, are enemies of one another.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.